The horror market just crashed. Two $70 games just went free, and 3 others hit record low prices. So here's your investor briefing for Halloween 2025. Which PS5 horror games actually pay you back in fear per dollar? Let's find out. This is PS5 Gameplay Hub, where gamers think like investors, and fear becomes profit. Every October, PlayStation drops a wave of new horror IPOs, all flash, fog, and promises. But smart gamers? We don't buy hype, we buy return on experience. So today, we're ranking 10 PS5 horror assets, from free PS Plus holdings to luxury collectibles, by cost, playtime, and emotional yield. Let's build your Halloween portfolio and find out which nightmares are actually worth your money. Silent Hill 2 Remake isn't just another re-release. It's a full-blown emotional audit. You return to the fog-covered town of grief and guilt, chasing ghosts that feel a little too familiar. Bloober Team's remake is gorgeous, yet deeply unsettling, with Unreal Engine 5 turning every shadow into something personal. The pacing is slow, reflective, a therapy session masquerading as a video game. And here's the kicker, it's free on PS Plus Extra this month. You'd usually pay $70 for a trip this haunting, but right now, your only investment is time, and maybe your sanity. It's the kind of emotional blue chip that grows on you and stays long after you log off. Now, if you prefer your horror with a little more empire building and a lot more blood, the next game has your portfolio covered. In V-Rising, you don't just survive, you scale. You wake as a starving vampire and build your fortune from scratch, crafting gear, raiding humans, and upgrading your castle one bite at a time. Every hour feels like compounding progress, a dividend of dark power. It's part Valheim, part Diablo, and 100% Gothic strategy. With co-op and PvE systems built for long-term play, it's the perfect, low-cost, high-return investment for players who love optimization. Normally priced at $40, but free this month on PS Plus Extra. That's 50 hours of gameplay, zero financial risk, and endless opportunities to diversify your fear. Because in this market, even vampires believe in compounding interest. Visage takes place in one location, a house that feels alive and deeply wrong. No monsters chase you, no guns, just the overwhelming pressure of silence and shadows. It's like buying a haunted property you can't sell. The more you stay, the deeper you sink. The lighting and atmosphere are impeccable. Every flicker feels expensive, even though the price isn't. At $17.49, it's one of the cheapest entries on this list, yet its tension per minute ratio beats most AAA horror. You'll spend your time walking in circles, but somehow the walls keep changing. Visage isn't loud, it's patient, and by the end, it'll own a part of you. If you're into horror that creeps instead of jumps, this is the best deal in the market right now. But maybe you want something faster, sharper, and more broadcast-worthy. Killer Frequency is a love letter to radio thrillers and 80s panic. You play a small-town DJ fielding live calls from people being hunted by a serial killer, and every decision could save or doom someone. It's part narrative puzzle, part moral panic, and surprisingly funny in its darkest moments. The game runs on charm, dialogue, and quick thinking rather than combat. Clocking in at just a few hours, it's the perfect short-term investment. Tight, memorable, and free this month on PS Plus Extra. By the time the credits roll, you'll have managed more lives than a day trader handles stocks. And just when you think you've caught your breath, our next title proves that boutique horror still has room to outperform the big leagues. MADiSON traps you in a house, armed with nothing but a cursed Polaroid. Every click reveals something you wish you hadn't seen. Every photo a reminder that curiosity costs dearly. It's claustrophobic, personal, and terrifyingly handcrafted. No filler, no jump scare spam. Just you, a camera, and the slow realization that something's always watching. At $34.99, it's not cheap for its length, but the density of fear is unmatched. If Visage is dread in slow motion, MADiSON is panic at close range. This is what happens when horror goes premium. Fewer hours, higher quality, and lasting psychological damage. Let's move from indie precision to gothic extravagance. $10 for Resident Evil Village should be illegal. You're getting one of Capcom's most polished cinematic entries, with 4K visuals, rock-solid performance, and one of the best sound designs in horror gaming. The atmosphere is both beautiful and brutal. The village feels alive. Every boss encounter has personality, and Lady Dimitrescu might just be gaming's most iconic dividend ever. At $1 per hour, the value here is ridiculous. It's horror that respects your time and your wallet. And if you thought this deal was too good to top, just wait until you see what Capcom did next. Resident Evil 4 Remake is the benchmark, the gold standard that defines the market. Everything from combat timing to sound feedback feels surgically tuned. You could play it for 30 hours straight and still find new layers of depth. At $19.99, you're paying less than 70 cents per hour for a modern masterpiece. It's consistent, it's replayable, and it's the kind of horror experience that never depreciates. If you only buy one premium horror title this Halloween, make it this one, because sometimes stability is scarier than chaos. Now, let's talk about a game that blends both creativity and insanity, and is somehow free this month. Alan Wake 2 is what happens when storytelling meets obsession. Remedy turned narrative design into an investment model. Every chapter a dividend of dread. You switch between Alan, trapped inside his own fiction, and Saga, a detective reading her way into the nightmare. The writing is razor sharp, the pacing deliberate, and the performances Oscar-worthy. At full price, it's worth every cent. But until November 5th, it's free on PS Plus Extra, a prestige bond you can't ignore. It's not about jump scares, it's about tension that builds like compound interest. When the screen finally fades to black, it'll feel like you finished reading a book that won't stop whispering to you. And if you want something riskier, something built on innovation and uncertainty, the next pick is pure speculative horror. Cronos, The New Dawn, is fear by design, an experiment that turns mortality into math. Every death ages your character, reducing agility but increasing wisdom. It's a brutal yet fascinating loop that makes time your greatest asset and your deadliest liability. Bloober Team's world building is bleak but beautiful, all decayed cathedrals and biotechnical nightmares. At $50.50 on sale, it's a bold buy for those who like games that challenge their reflexes and their philosophy. It's horror that makes you think about the cost of every mistake and the price of every respawn. Unstable? Maybe. Worth the risk? Absolutely. But after this, it's time to end with something timeless. A luxury collectible in the art market of fear. Silent Hill isn't horror entertainment. It's horror elegance. Set in 1960s Japan, it's a surreal fusion of beauty, decay, and psychological dread. Written by Ryukishi07, the story explores guilt and transformation through body horror, flowers blooming from human flesh. Every frame looks painted. Every scream feels personal. The soundtrack blends melancholy with terror, creating something closer to performance art than gameplay. At $69.99, it's not cheap, but luxury never is. You're buying a legacy title, one that will be analyzed, discussed, and remembered for decades. And that's how you end a portfolio, not with noise, but with quiet perfection. So, what does your horror portfolio look like this Halloween? Free holdings, Silent Hill 2 Remake, V Rising, Killer Frequency, Alan Wake 2, Discount Blue Chips, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village, Visage, Premium Assets, Cronos, and Silent Hill F. At $134.99 a year, PS Plus Extra costs about 37 cents a day, and these 4 free titles alone already pay that back in under a week. So whether you're into slow dread, fast profit, or emotional bankruptcy, this is the best month in years to be a horror investor. Diversify your fear, spend smarter, and remember, in this market, the only thing more valuable than time is terror. This is PS5 Gameplay Hub, signing off. Fear is profitable.